Hi, I'm Kevin Proto here with Locals Supporting Locals for another segment of the Heartbeat of the Okanagan. We just wrapped up at a City Council meeting here on December 1st, where it was about the settlement of the new agreement that came forward from Trio Marine with the City of Penticton. And as well, as many people know, they had a hearing on November 23rd where 870 people approximately showed up. And I would say 99% were not in favor of moving forward with any sort of deals. They just want this done, gone. And that was what the people wanted. And that was the voice of what the people were saying. It was voted down. It was voted 5-2 in favor of signing the new development, saying that they think that they addressed what the community wanted, which was no water slides and don't touch the green space and don't touch the trees, and that there's a public process for Trio Marine that they have to go to the public, and the public has to be accepting into whatever new things that may happen there. Now, if they didn't follow the first ones, where by their own laws they have to hold a referendum, how could we actually trust these guys with the new public process here? Because they clearly don't listen to the people. And you'll see that in the video where people are very discontent. It got very heated. So we're going to keep following this. Nelson Meikle has made his statements that it's far from done here. And so we'll keep you up to date. So follow us at localssupportinglocals.com. Find us on Facebook. You can make friends with Kevin Proto on Facebook, and we'll keep you up to date on this. Thank you.
Yes.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our special council meeting. Council, there is an agenda in front of you. Hoping to adopt the agenda. Second, all in favor? We have an agenda. Primarily, the only thing on the agenda is the Skaha Lake Marina Water Park development. I'll turn over to Mr. Rosiak to present his report.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just have a few items I wanted to go through with Council today. Could I have the PowerPoint on the screen, please, Scott? Thank you. I'm just going to do a brief history, and then I have some additional points I want to bring up. So on the 1st of November, staff introduced a council report that spoke to 4 possible directions that council could take with respect to the Skaha Lake Marina and Water Park agreement. Information was provided on the settlement agreement and an enhanced marina agreement. Over the period November 12th to 18th, staff, Trio, and legal counsel worked to create a revised settlement agreement and a revised enhanced marina agreement that would address the public concern that still existed with respect to loss of green space due to park amenities as contained in the settlement agreement. The revised settlement agreement and enhanced marina agreement were considered by council and released to the public on the 21st of November. On the 23rd of November, a special council meeting was held where the settlement agreement, enhanced marina agreement, revised settlement agreement, revised enhanced marina agreement was presented, and the public was provided an opportunity to ask questions and provide comment. Over the period November 24th to 30th, 3 additional changes have been made to these agreements to address some of the concerns that were raised at the November 23rd meeting. The changes are as follows. To the settlement agreement, Schedule B, Boathouse Concession Amenity Area. The area where the boathouse concession amenity could be placed, area F, was reorientated and reduced in size to improve sightlines and make green space area within area F more accurately reflect the size of the concession building. This figure actually shows the change. On the left-hand side of the screen is the old area F. On the right-hand side of the screen is the new area F. The second change that was made to the settlement agreement was an amendment to section 513, and the existing section 513 was removed and replaced with new wording to protect against any marine amenity being installed due to the reduced size of the exclusion area in the revised enhanced marina agreement, which I'll speak to in a second, prior to the completion of the marina amenity process. And the third change that has been made is with respect to the exclusion area, Schedule C in the enhanced marina agreement. It has been reduced. So on the left-hand side of your screen is the old exclusion area. On the right-hand side of the screen is the new exclusion area. So the alternatives available for council to consider this evening are that council accept the proposed revised settlement agreement and enhanced marina agreement, and authorize mayor and corporate officer to execute the revised settlement agreement, revised enhanced marina agreement, license to use agreement, sub-license of occupation agreement, both through December 31st, 2018. Second alternative for council to consider would be that council refuse to accept those agreements. The third option would be that council instruct staff to try and sort out matters with Trio in some other mutually acceptable way. And the fourth alternative, that council simply wait and see what occurs with respect to the water park agreement. Council should now be in a position to provide direction as to how they would like to move forward on the Skaha Lake Water Park and marina agreements. And that concludes my presentation this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Rozak. Questions, comments? Councilor Martin?
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm just wondering if Mr. Morosi could remind everyone about, if we do pass option one or alternative one, what the process is after that in regards to Trio's conditions precedents, if we want to use that terminology.
Your Worship, the enhanced marina agreement contains numerous conditions precedent. The first one is the submission of a detailed marketing and operating plan. That would be due on the 15th of March of 2017. On the 15th of May 2017, Penticton would have to indicate if they were satisfied with those marketing and operating plans. October 1st, 2017, they would have to submit their detailed financing plan. And on the 1st of November, Council would, or City of Penticton would have to determine if they were satisfied with that detailed financing plan. On the 15th of November, they would have to submit written copies of lender loan commitments. December 1st, we would have to, if satisfied, approve those. And October 1st, the city, Trio in the province of British Columbia have to conclude and enter into a joint marina lease. Those items relate specifically to the marina. For the restaurant retail area, there are similar conditions precedent as well, and I could go through those item by item if you would like me to.
Sure, please.
Okay. On the 15th of March 2017, again, they have to submit a detailed marketing and operating plan for that area. The 15th of May, Council or City of Penticton would have to approve those if they are satisfied. July the 1st, 2018, they would have to submit their detailed financing plan. August 1st of 2018, if Penticton was satisfied, they would have to approve that. August the 15th, 2018, Trio would have to submit a lender's loan commitments letters to us. And September 1st, if we were satisfied, we would have to approve those. So those would be the conditions precedent that Trio would be required to meet.
Thank you. Councilor Watt?
Thank you, through the chair. Just to be absolutely clear, Mr. Morosi, for area F, the reduction in space, but we're still talking that whatever happens in that area is 100% from public consultation, correct?
Your Worship, the settlement agreement contains two requirements, or two items. One is the marine amenity, so that is an amenity that would go in the water, and that is developed by the City of Penticton and Trio. It is then presented to the public and we receive input on it. The city then has the ability to revise that proposal based on public input. And if there is a marine amenity that generates revenue in it, that would then be offered to Trio. With respect to the concession and boathouse, there is again a public process that is led by the city, and the city would go up to the public and work with the public on the reconstruction of the boathouse and the concession. It could be in its existing area or it could be in the combined area and within Area F. Then, if there was a revenue generating amenity that came out of those discussions, that would then be offered to Trio, and Trio would have 6 months to submit a proposal on that. If we accepted the proposal and the proposal was within the terms of reference that were issued, we would then negotiate an agreement for that.
Councillor Conant?
Yes, thank you, for your worship. Mr. Morozia, can you explain the changes in the second point, which is 5.13, I believe, that change again?
Where 5.13 came from is in the original enhanced marina agreement, the exclusion area was considerably larger, and that would basically preclude anybody between the signing of the agreement and when the end of the marine amenity process ends, which is in 2018, from being able to come in and put in something else in the water at that point in time. Because they're making the exclusion area smaller, they lose the ability to protect that area. They wanted that protection on that area at least until the marine amenity process was completed.
Thank you.
Anyone else, questions or direction? Anyone? Councillor Pickman?
Well, I think everybody on council has been looking at this very, very carefully, and I think that now, from the majority of what I've heard from the community over the course of the last year and a half, I feel comfortable that this revised settlement agreement meets most of the concerns that I personally have received through email, phone calls, meetings with people in person, and so on during that time frame. And you know, I've expressed this before, and I still feel the same way that personally, I would have liked to have seen a water slide. I understand that, you know, I feel the same as a lot of people within this community that did want to see a water slide. We wanted to see it, but we don't want to see it so badly that we're willing to divide our entire community over it. So I think that this takes into consideration that you know, both sides. It gets us our enhanced marina, and it doesn't touch the green space in the park. And I think this is the best compromise that we could have hoped for. You know, I would like to thank Trio for working with the city to come up with a agreement that removes some of these conditions that were the most contentious, and I would move that we accept alternative 1, which is the revised settlement agreement.
Is there a seconder? Okay, seconded. Councillor Watt, you're next to speak. Mr. Lawrence?
Thank you, through the chair. I want very much to agree with Councillor Penticton. I think that whether the people in this room, the people watching agree or not, Trio did in fact make some concessions and give some things up that were in their agreement. So I too would give them a little bit of credit. Having said that, the term settlement to me means we're settling, and I think that in many, many places, but very specifically this area, settling is not something that I want. The $1.5 million commitment that they're making is commendable, and I embrace that. But there's so many questions left for me still with what can happen that I'm just not comfortable enough with it to move forward. And I think that we made a mistake getting to this point.
There you go.
I know, sorry, I know it's difficult, but please allow us to do our thing.
With all due respect, I'm not wanting that to happen tonight. I'm not saying this, I'm saying this super heavy-hearted, to be quite frank, because I believe we made a mistake and that getting to where we are now, what we are trying to do is find the best option. But to me, the best option isn't moving forward in this direction, it's to start again. And I realize there's a cost associated with that, but that is where my thoughts and beliefs are, so that's where I'll be going tonight.
Councilor Martin?
Thank you, Your Worship. I will be supporting alternative number one. I know we won't make everyone happy in terms of parks. Everybody has different views on what should go on inside of a park. We heard last week, Dr. Carr mentioning about it should be in a natural state. And that to me is you don't cut the grass, you don't water the grass, you don't pick up the garbage. You don't
Please. This is the process taking place, so let him speak.
That's letting it go into a natural state. That's my interpretation of it. We have someone else that, said they would fire up the committee that was, or the group that was organized 10 years ago because of something that might go on in Okanagan Lake Park in regards to a band shell or a stage, which hasn't even come to council. We haven't even talked about it. But we have a band shell sitting in Gyro Park. We have a gazebo band shell, if you call it, in Skaha Park. So everyone has different interpretations and different ideas about what should go on in a park. My belief is that a park, yes, it's a gathering place and it should be open to as many different things as possible. I wonder if we would have had this major discussion and rallies and that sort of thing if the city had decided to put a swimming pool in that park and the city run it and the city take the money from it, and we wouldn't call it a commercial venture because it would be the taxpayers that were also running it, but the green space would be gone. So there's a lot of tough choices to make. There's a lot of different views out there, but I do believe that this one is what's in best interest for the community. That area of town needs some development. It's clear from years ago that some investment could be made down there, and if we have someone that's willing to come in and put $1.5 million, and they have some pretty strict conditions to meet to help build our infrastructure, they need to get something back out of it, and I'm fully in support of that. We have other commercial ventures in other parts of the park, and they're operating just fine, and I do believe that we have made a number of concessions to meet the needs of the Skaha Park Society's requests, excuse me, with virtually no loss of green space other than, if you physically put those two buildings together, it might be a few feet around each other. But I do know the boathouse is going to need some attention. And we talk about the Dragon Boat Festival and everybody coming for that. We also, have a event at the end of June or early July, which is the Okanagan Sprints, which is also put on by the Dragon Boat Festival community, which means more and more people are coming here to do that. That facility is already kind of busting at the seams, and so it would be nice that we were able to fix up that building and do that with someone else putting the bill and getting something for it. So at the end of the day, alternative one is the best alternative for this community. I realize that some people won't be happy with it, but I think overall, in the betterment of the whole community, this is the right route to go, so I'll be supporting alternative one.
Councilor Conan?
Thank you, through your worship. So, very, very difficult decision to make. I want to say, first of all, that I believe every single person that's sitting at this table and on that screen right there care about this community so much that we are all doing our very best in our own separate ways, trying to figure out what is best for this community and this decision. So I've listened to a lot of people, including the meeting last week. I've had multiple emails, phone calls, and I went onto the Save Skaha Park website to take a look at, it's actually very interesting because they have archived, as many of you know, since a lot of you belong to that group, they have archived the letters to the editors. They have, you know, I guess there's been 300 letters to the editor, and many of them have been against the water slide project, against the project period. So I went over all of the things, or as many as I had time for, to look at what it is that people were against in this project. So we got it, we have it archived. And so what they don't want is they didn't want green space to be used, any more green space. Okay? So no green space was to be used. No trees were to be cut. No, a lot of people who wrote those letters did not want a water slide. They did not want this monstrosity. In many different ways they wrote it. They did not want this monstrosity in the park. By the way, there are a lot of people who have stopped me on the street, in coffee shops, or called me that have said they actually would like a water slide, or they'd like an enhancement to the park, but they're afraid, and they're afraid to come to this meeting. They're afraid that their businesses be boycotted. Many of the letters said even that we should that their businesses should be boycotted. But that's okay, that's a past. We're trying to heal this community. So another thing that was in these letters was no more commercialization, no further commercialization, no further than that was already there. Okay, many said, but so many of these letters said, please upgrade the marina, and there's a reason why that marina we originally went out into an RFP. Many letters, by the way, said, I can't believe you wouldn't go out to tender for this. Well, of course we did. We went out for tender for this in 2012, and there were 4 applications for it, and 1 was chosen. So we went out to an RFP for this originally. So, so all these things in these letters are being addressed by this new proposal. No more green space is being used. No trees are being cut. There's no water slide. We are getting a marina upgraded. And otherwise, if we have to pay to have this marina upgraded ourselves, it'll cost at least $1 million. So we'll have to add that to our infrastructure deficit. So, okay, I did also have people tell me they felt the lease wasn't fair. Well, this lease is multiple times what the former business in there was paying. So we are ahead there also. So I'm looking at everything that everyone has been telling me, and everything has been addressed. We have a business coming in here that is going to upgrade the marina and actually make us a place that is proud on that side of the city. So one of the things I should have realized when this started was that it wasn't a good idea to put in anything on green space in Penticton. Because all I had to do was look at our history. All we had to do was look at the history. Okanagan Park and other things that have happened. We should not put things on parkland in this community anymore, and we should not put a hotel on parkland for sure, and that's a problem that was in the RFP. We should never have had that, but it was done, and I feel very, I regret a lot of it. I regret so much of it, but here we are tonight, and we've got everything that everybody has been asking for in one proposal. Everything.
No.
Everything.
No.
There's not one thing
No.
in this proposal.
No.
So I will be supporting alternative number 1.
It's time to
So,
drain the swamp, I
Again,
think.
to the gallery, I realize it may be difficult hearing this, But this is a process, that's just now council's opportunity to give direction to staff. And again, everyone's opinion needs to be respected.
Except the
And-
public.
No, it's difficult for everyone in this room. I get that. But you need to be respectful for everyone in this process here. And if you can't, then the door's right there. I'm sorry for being blunt.
Use it. Oh, use it. Use it.
Use it.
Use it, yeah. I'm tired of being lied to, so I'm going to use the door. You are lying to us. You have not addressed all of the issues in the correspondence. Trio is being handed a blank check to our park and beaches. I am tired of the lie.
Councilor Said, did you want to speak, make a comment? You're live.
Hello.
Can you
Can you
hear?
hear me?
Yes.
I would like to hear Councillor Santos and yourself also, if possible, and then make my comments, if it's okay.
Councilor Santos?
Thank you, Mayor Jacobite. There's an old adage about in hindsight. And in hindsight, wouldn't we all be a little smarter, do some things a little differently? I've listened to my colleagues, and if we had the crystal ball, possibly we'd have done some things differently. However, we were a council that was elected to look into moving the community forward. I'm on council 8 years, and I have heard a lot of comments about the Skaha Lake Park area, feeling they were second-class citizens, that everything was going to the Okanagan side and there wasn't enough coming to them. So I think this council had every good intention. However, it doesn't matter yesterday. We have to deal with today, and we found ourselves in a dispute resolution that was dictated by law how you proceed. And I agreed with Councillor Kunans. What came forward loud and clear was objection to loss of green space, objection to water slide being a cause for the loss of that green space. There was general approval that the marina needed an upgrade. There really wasn't much objection to a restaurant being there. And I too have gone back and looked, and that's what I see. So we were able in the dispute resolution, and it was not an easy task, to bring two opinions of where we were at together to find a compromise. I believe we did that. If it's not what you wanted, we did the best that we could, and I think your two principal objections, and I too have been stopped by people who did not agree with those of you that are in the majority tonight. They felt that we were not thinking about the global good of Penticton. We were accommodating a sector. But I do believe we accomplished the no loss of green space. We accomplished water slide was not appropriate to be there. We've got the marina being enhanced, and there's been language about 100 slips. Well, there's legislation around what a marina can be and do, so they will have to comply with those rules. That's not necessarily the city making them, but that's provincial. So I supported the motion because I believe we have accomplished what you asked for in the best way that we could, and I think this will move Penticton forward in a positive way. So I thank you for letting me state my opinion.
So, I guess I'll go next then. I'll start off by, I thought last week's meeting was productive in the sense that Trio, first of all, had an opportunity to address the public, but more importantly, hear some of the concerns or questions. And while Melanie commended the revisions to remove the water slide and no reduction of green space, there still was that sense of animosity in the air against the city and or Trio Marine. And whether or not that's right or fair, or a solid foundation to justify the expense to several ties and pay out the old agreements, it's a reality. It's one of the difficult realities that we're sort of struggling with, or something I've been struggling with or having difficulty with. No one wants to see division in a community. We had addressed or attempted to address the primary concern and mandate of the society with respect to the no water slide and the no commercialization of green space. So in that respect, we not just heard but listened. And then last week, when the notion to sever all ties and start fresh was brought up, many cheered or stood up to support that. We all saw that. And while I understand that a year and a half of angst or battling City Hall, it's not easy just to stop or flick a switch and move on. I find it difficult. When we started that meeting, the public questioning spending $500 for a moderator, but also being okay to spend $300,000 to end things and somehow believe that someone else is going to come along with $1 million or $1.5 million to invest and not require similar terms to make it viable for them. And what I want to remind everyone is that we, the city, do have an infrastructure deficit, which means that we don't have the money to improve things in a timely manner or replace them, or there's more need than we actually have money to spend on. And that's why partnerships are attractive options for potential solutions to create or enhance public assets. And we've never done revenue sharing, and revenue sharing is on the gross, not profit, not net, but on the gross. We've never done revenue sharing with our leases, so now there's new monies coming into the mix that we've never really had before, and we said those monies would stay in park acquisition or park improvement for Skaha. And I remember when I first came on council, and I came on Councillor Sentes 8 years ago, and then Mayor Ashton, his pet peeve was to get, if you remember, by the Rotary Pavilion, just north of that, it was dirt with weeds, and it was his pet peeve, why can't we just get grass there? And it took 2 or 3 years, but it was like $170,000 just to put grass there. I mean, my point, I guess, is parks are expensive. We heard concerns about the exclusion zone, how large that was, and the potential footprint of the boathouse concession amenity. And to Trio's credit, they did hear that, acknowledge that, and circle back to say, let's address that, and that's what you see in front of us today. As stated before, there really isn't a lot of opposition against the marina getting expanded, and most importantly, getting upgraded, which is the only guarantee that Trio has. The rest are subject to a public process before being even offered to them, and restricted to 2 opportunities, which is really that water or aqua play structure and the boathouse concession. And while I acknowledge the public process isn't well defined, it is part of our commercial use policy that's currently being developed as part of the Parks and Rec master plan. And I think regardless of what side of the fence you were on with respect to Skaha Park, I would think you'd all agree that no one would ever want to repeat what we went through the last 17, 18 months. This could all be avoided had we followed a better process, and certainly there have been lessons that we've talked about, that we admitted that. Despite the clause that is in this agreement about the Parks and Rec master plan being exempted from these agreements, the public process is at the city's discretion, and I can assure you that this council and councils in the future will ensure the process identified in this commercial use policy are going to get followed, because it's going to be something that's endorsed by the community as the best way in the future to deal with commercial uses, and in particular commercial use in premier waterfront parks. For those who maybe question the capacity of the developer to fulfill their obligations, i.e. financing, probably the biggest one, well, when come next May, those questions get answered either with the project falling by the wayside, dying, or moving forward in an upgraded marina, restaurant, et cetera, et cetera. I have greater comfort in proceeding with the revised agreements than just cutting a check with several zeros. I feel it's better than legal battles, which also have several zeros attached to it. And I just want to close really that it is my sincere hope that the greater community will move on with this issue and the angst and the negativity surrounding it will subside, because of many other issues and good things happening in our city are being overshadowed by this. So Councillor Saeed, you have the last word potentially. Councillor Saeed.
Okay, thank you. Just wanted to make sure that you can actually indeed hear me.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, and thank you for everyone. But first of all, I would like to thank the technology department for letting this happen, and to you, the mayor, and the councilor as well, for letting me speak through remotely. This is a very important decision, and I'm very happy and feel privileged that I'm part of this decision-making process. So on that note, I think this proposal will set an example as to how the evolution will look like for the future of Skaha Lake. And we all need to take a position with regards to how it looks like. It's true, there is a real thirst for development. I understand that. And in order to have development, we sometimes need to take risk. I understand that also. But for 29 years, with the possibility of a total of 39 years, I don't see this as a partnership. I see it as a domination. I take tremendous pride of my role as a councillor, and I want future councillors to carry out their responsibility responsibly. So I cannot accept this proposal as presented. That is my take on this.
Thank you, Councillor Saeed. Everyone's spoken. Does anyone else want to speak? I think everyone's laid their cards on the table, so I will call the question. The motion on the floor is alternative one, which is basically the revised agreements. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Councillors Penticton, Martin, Sentes, the mayor, and Councillor Conan. Those opposed, Councillor Watt and Councillor Saeed. Thank you. So that concludes the public portion of our meeting. I will switch the order up in terms of going to the media for questions, if they have any. Nothing? Nothing? What, John, if you come to the mic.
Sorry, just for clarification, I know normally I come to talk to you after the meeting. Generally, I'm asking, kind of just wrap up summary questions. This one might just might have more interest, so just I want to give them kind of fair shake too. Just you mentioned all the process, and of course how difficult it was, the length of the process, and I think we've all kind of heard you guys mention that maybe the process could have been better at the beginning. Do you feel that that was the main sticking point, or do you feel like the bigger issue came in kind of the nuts and bolts of the agreement? We've heard a lot of things like the length agreement, the commercialization, or do you think the whole problem was just kind of how it was all laid out to begin with, in your opinion? I guess that's right.
Well, I think the process was the major in terms of, and I said this I think last week, we looked at the projects downtown along the lake. They were a year, 2 years in the making. Lots of charrettes and going out to the public, and then 2 or 3 months later coming back, and so people could see the revisions or the sticky notes that they made, or some of the comments that they made were maybe addressed or answered why it wasn't feasible, or why it was ruled out, or to see it implemented. And so there was a chance to sort of shape it. And I think having a 30-day window to shape a significant portion of the park is really what got it off to the wrong footing. The fact that it took a year and a half to sort of get to where we are now, yes, I said that animosity just continued to fester, to build. If we would have had this conversation a year ago, like last fall, before some of these other lawsuits escalated, that might have resolved a lot of it in the community. So I think that those are probably the two primary rationales or reasons why we are where we are. Thanks very much. Mr. Price, I'll come to the public second.
Thank you.
Well, I want to ask a question on behalf of media too.
Could you just repeat those condition precedents for the two jails against me? The dates, the timeline?
Are you asking for the conditions precedent dates?
Yes, on both of those.
Can I just give those to you? I mean, it's going to take me 5 minutes to run through those.
Can you give me right away?
Yeah, if you just see me after the, well, it'll have to be tomorrow because I have another meeting after
Okay,
that.
I need them within the hour, so if you just go over it for
I'll try whatever. Well,
I mean,
I'll make a
the
comment for you.
major ones, Mr. Mrozek, I mean, you mentioned them to us earlier tonight, so could you summarize a couple of key ones in terms of the next 6
Yeah.
months?
I guess financing.
And the agenda is online, and all of those conditions precedent are in the in-house marina agreement. They're all in there, and that's online and available, so you can pick it up on the ground.
Okay, that'll work here, thank you.
Should I come up here?
Oh, actually, sir, there was one gentleman in the corner there, but.
Well, yeah, but I want to ask on behalf of media, as well. So you talked both, Tona and Santos, you talked about following the website and all the letters that were in there to the editor, and saying that they didn't want to touch green space. Did you count how many times that the people demanded you follow your own process of holding a referendum? That was the number one thing that people asked them, to count how many times that was in those letters.
Yeah, Councilor Bennett?
I do believe there's a time and place for a referendum. In the last year, I've been asked for multiple referendums. I've been asked for referendums for things like a daycare, BMX park in Munson Mountain, changes in the tax multiplier, a referendum for getting rid of the council. I can name at least I can name at least 6 or 7.
Yeah, but this is in your
people who would
bylaws
like
when it comes to
referendums.
parks,
No,
though.
well, that's we're leasing the land, and that this is something that we believe is the right thing.
It's in your own bylaws.
Are you with the media, or are you
Yes, I am.
arguing with
Mr.
me?
Proto, this is not
Okay, you
a
can ask a
cross-examination.
question,
Okay.
but yes, if you have a question, ask, I'm answering it.
Okay. And just before Councilor Santos, as she chooses to answer it, I just want to remind you that referendum would be triggered if we were changing the zoning and having outdoor amusement as a permitted use in the parkland zoning. That's maybe one of the other contentious issues, but if we had changed the zoning and everyone uses the word hotel, so yeah, if there was a hotel to be there, that would trigger a referendum. But if we were putting in something that's an allowable use within a park, i.e. outdoor amusement, that's an allowable use, and there's no need for a referendum.
But the initial, if I'm not mistaken, there was for water slide, which is not considered an amusement or allowed in the.
There is no water slide.
No, I know, but you're saying that you looked at what everybody was demanding. Everybody was just demanding that you hold a referendum, which is again in your own bylaws. It's just because you said you researched this, City Council.
There is no water slide.
Yeah, I know you're still living up on green space, which is our parkland, which is supposed to be held by a referendum.
No green space.
Anyways, thank you.
Mr. Proto, you asked for my opinion. So if you're right, I believe the mayor has answered. The criteria around when and how you use a referendum was not deemed to be appropriate at this point. So I support what he has said.
Because you skipped that process the first time, and now you're going around it now. So why not, if you want to start over, why not start with a referendum and see if the people are in favor of any commercialization whatsoever?
I'm not starting over. I'm accepting the settlement, which is what we just did tonight.
Yes, but
That's
So-
not
so
starting
again-
over. That's moving forward, in my opinion.
thank you.
Sir, if you had a question for.
I'm not too
And sorry, I should have had the media also identify themselves. Jonathan Seacrest from Easy Rock. I can quote it from locals. We're locals, and just your name and address if you have a question for us.
My name is Richard Gilda, 218 Horn Street. And I have a question that about both the, in the revised settlement agreement, both of the spaces that were modified again since the 1st of November. One was the LOCALS area and the other was the exclusion area. I had a question about when things are going to go forward on those two particular areas. I understand from reading this that we're supposed to have some kind of public consultation, and that's part of the legal terms of the agreement. Is that correct?
Correct. And if there is no, if the public doesn't want what's being presented to them, there's no obligation to from the city to Trio, and that many goes away. Mr. Rozak, anything to elaborate?
Yeah, just wanted to provide a point of clarification. There's public process involved with the marine amenity, which is in the water, and there's public process involved with the concession and boathouse amenity, which is shown in Schedule B, that's Area F. With respect to the exclusion area, there's no public process around the exclusion area. That is something that is provided to Trio in the enhanced marina agreement. So there's no public process around that.
So it becomes part of the enhanced marina agreement, and any process that the public has is only against what two things in the marina agreement?
So two things. First of all, it's always been part of the marina agreement. That's not new. It's just been reduced in size.
Oh, okay.
So that's not an addition, it's a reduction.
My mistake.
And then the public process pertains to the marine amenity, which is in the water. That would take place in the year 2018. And the second item is with respect to the boathouse and the concession. If you were going to either redo it in its existing location or put it into one location, there's a public process involved in that process, and that would take place in 2019.
Thank you.
Nelson Meikle, 2929 Coleman Street, Penticton. I guess I'll talk to the people that matters to me in my life.
But the question is to come to council.
That's right. Okay, Schedule M. Has that, at this very moment, been executed by the province of British Columbia and City of Penticton?
I'll refer to Mr. Mrozek for starters.
Your Worship, Schedule M, I believe, is the three-party lease agreement with the province of British Columbia. Is that what you're referring to?
That is correct. Has it been executed?
No, it has not been executed. That is a condition precedent that has to be executed by a set date in the future.
Okay, so currently, then you guys are under the current province of British Columbia license to use 342-689 between the province of British Columbia and it's only got, and the city, and it's only got about 7 years left. However, if you go to 7.1 off that application, it says you cannot sublicense, assign, mortgage, or transfer this agreement. So how can the city, for the last 2 years and previous years, sublease the province land to Trio and anybody else? You've broken your own laws right there. Do you agree?
Mr. Mrozek?
No, I don't agree, and I'm not in a position to comment on that because I don't have those documents in front of me. But we also had a similar arrangement with Beatrice, who operated before Trio operated, and it was sub-licensed to them. So that's something I would have to go and take up with our lands manager.
Well, I've discussed it with him, and he agrees that yes, the sublease was in there, and it should have been adhered to, but it wasn't. And I brought that up 2 years ago, and it's still not being addressed. And now you're going into another lease, which goes on for 30 years, I believe it is. So what you guys are doing, and I intend to do it, and I tell the people here tonight, what you're opening up is another court case bringing in the province of British Columbia. And I'm prepared to go that road. And it'll be started forthwith, I can guarantee you. Because the other agreement that you guys supposed to have been involved with expires December 34th, 2016. Is that correct?
I don't know what agreement you're referring to.
The sublease for 2016 between Trio and the City of Penticton on the marina and the marina water.
The existing one expires at the December 31st, 2016.
That's why you guys want to push this through before that date. Am I correct on that?
I can't really answer that question, no.
Okay, so then, I have to do something before that date comes up. And I intend to, with these people backing me, I can guarantee you that. And many people now are saying 3 words to you people up there. It's called democracy by dictatorship. And that's where it's at. And I thank Mr. Sahid and Mr. Campbell for standing where we want you to stand, as the population of the City of Penticton citizens want.
Here.
So we do have another meeting to get to, so I do want to adjourn, but there's another, I didn't see hands, so go ahead. Again, questions, please?
Hi there, Maureen Chatham, 277 Yorkton. I am really confused. At the meeting on the 23rd, right near the end, the lawyer for Trio, and I'm not quoting him verbatim, but he made the indication that Trio was still going by the original contract. They had not agreed to any of these revisions. Is that correct?
The revision hadn't been signed, they agreed, that's how
No,
they
he
got
said they
sentenced.
hadn't agreed. They were still going by the original contract and they were going to hold the city accountable to them. Now, I left that meeting kind of confused because I thought that the city and Trio had come to the agreement with 2 revisions. And the way he said it, if the city wanted, they had not agreed to any of these revisions.
So just to clarify, in their view, both the marina and the water slide, the original agreements, those are both active. What we put forward to them was a settlement agreement and a revised marina agreement that was presented to the public on that night to say, here's an update, here's the latest options, what are your thoughts and concerns? And then tonight would be the night where council would decide whether we accept those, don't accept those, try to renegotiate further, or just leave it the way it was.
So what happens if they don't agree to the revisions? To this, to the...
Mr. Rose, yeah.
Your worship, all of the agreements that are before council tonight have already been signed by Trio. It's the City of Penticton that had to make the
He said
decision.
he hadn't agreed to that.
Sorry?
On the 23rd, the lawyer for Trio said he didn't, they were still going by the...
I can assure you, they have been delivered to my office, and they are signed by Trio.
Okay, also, can I ask a question? Like, what happens 12 years from now? You've got a whole different council. They want to do something to Skaha Lake. Do they have to go through Trio? Or can they just go and say, we're doing this, and Trio's going, oh no, we don't want that done? What happens?
Who's they?
The city, the new city council 12 years from now, if they come up with a plan for Skaha Lake, do they have to go through Trio too? Like, my thing is, they've got this 29 plus week 9-year lease, and anybody who wants to do anything to that park,
So the lease is on the marina. That is the only certainty or guarantee that they have. The water aqua amenity, again, goes through a public process. The public doesn't want anything there. no obligation to Trio that amenity doesn't exist, it goes away. And in 2019, the boathouse concession, again, same thing, if the community doesn't want it or just wants the existing boathouse and there's no revenue opportunity, then we would build a boathouse and off we go. Anything else in the park would be subject to someone coming to the city, and I mentioned before, we are drafting our commercial use policy and updating our Parks and Rec master plan to address what is small, medium, large, where they should be, and the process to get them authenticated or validated from the community.
But I think most people are concerned with the control Trio has for 39 years. And they have control over concessions, they have control over what goes into the water, like a play thing for kids. And that is what people are upset about, is the control the city has handed to Trio to have control with whatever goes on in that park, from concessions to, if I decided I wanted to put some of those little water slides that go into the water, I would have to go through Trio. If they don't like me, no. And the city doesn't have any say.
Maybe Mr. Rosie can try to explain that, Mr. Rosie.
That's not the case. The only area that applies to is the exclusion zone, and the exclusion zone is only in place for a period of time. That's not 39 years. So if somebody wanted...
It's 29 plus.
No, it is not. Not the exclusion zone is not.
How long?
That's a different length of time. The agreement is, but the agreement is for the marina, the 2 parking lots, and that's it. That's all that Trio has the ability to do anything on right now. The marine amenity, that's subject to public process, and so is the reconstruction of the boathouse and the concession. So there's no certainty on those.
They only have control of that one little concession.
Yes, they have control over that one concession and the marina buildings and the parking lots. That's it. Not the rest of Skaha Park.
Okay, my fault. Okay.
My name is Helen Travers at 391 Farrell Street. My question is the marina agreement that came up on October the 1st, has it been completed?
So we answered that question last week, and I'll be here for another 5 hours answering the same questions that we had last
I don't
week.
think people understand, so
essay.
yes or no, has it been completed?
No.
Thank you. Thank you.
My name is George Jansen. I live on 3313 Wilson Street. Let me start something. Habla española, señores? Parlez-vous français? Spreek je Nederlands? Spreekt u Duits? Obviously, you council at the top, in the top echelon of town management do not understand English. God gave you 2 ears for a good reason. So you will listen twice as much as talking. So listen for once. You gave somebody 10 minutes to speak at the 23rd meeting, and it was planned that way. Your dog and pony show, which it was, because let me finish my question. They were allowed 10 minutes, nobody else was. Where the microphones were wink, nudge, not going to where they should be. They were placed purposely by your winks and nudges to appropriate people. Only 7 people spoke in favor of your amendment, 2 vocally, 5 marginally. That is less than 1% of that whole 732 people that were there. Did you count them? Anyway. There's an ongoing private lawsuit, which you're well aware of, against the city. Nelson, he just spoke. You might recognize the name, which gets instant turnout of hundreds of citizens at a moment's notice, even on a hockey night in town. Can you imagine? I wish him the best. If you insist on going through with this silly contracts, the man is a dog with a meat bone. You won't let go. Multiple rallies. Save Skaha Park, over 5,000 signatures, and other groups with hundreds, if not thousands of signatures. The City of Penticton is not your private piggy bank to do with as you like. You, council, except for those two at the end, did not run your election platform on privatization of our parks and or the marina. You just followed Dan's erroneous ways and decided to give, yes, for free, 2 generations of time. 39 years. Nobody in business needs a lease for 39 years to stay in business. Not for $1.5 million. It is a small amount. Let me finish, please. It's really very simple. The citizens of Penticton do not want privatization of any of our parks. No Wally Worlds, slides. It's our park, ladies and gentlemen. We like it the way it is, especially the crown jewel park called Skaha Lake. As far as I'm concerned, you have no legal right to encumber us, the citizens of our city, for 2 generations. 39 to 40 years is 2 generations. To a flimsy, wishy-washy company who have trouble getting $1.5 million loan that you can't even buy a bungalow for in Vancouver. They also obviously don't understand English. We don't want you in Penticton Trio. Is that clear enough?
So, Mr. Jensen, you need to...
Let me just finish. Somebody else had 10 minutes for Skaha Park the other day. Too many underhanded secret deals being signed. Too many in-camera meetings. Too many confidential clauses not being released. Where is the transparency in this council? What is really going on here between Mitch, you, the council, and Trio, for you council to insist upon this deal to carry forward and fracture this town even more, which you're doing at this moment? Again, I ask, where is your transparency? There isn't any. One has to think the obvious. You remember a play and something is mentioned. Something is rotten in the state of Denmark. You'll look it up, I know that. There's no reason in the world to sign a 39, 40-year lease.
So these are supposed to be questions that come
The question's coming, sir. City Council, it's time to rip up all the contracts, regardless what you voted just now. In fact, they have not met the rules of real estate contract and missed dates, times, deposits, good faith, etc. There's no contract as far as I'm concerned and as far as the law is concerned. A man from Vancouver Island, obviously versed in real estate, said last year when we were doing the signatures, this is an act of expropriation of public property without sufficient compensation or input. Be adults. You've screwed up. Fess up to it. Apologize to the town citizens. Tear up the contracts. Get rid of the trio and start the healing process before it's too late. Thank you. And that is my point.
Mr. Gallagher, I hope there's a question there, because then come on forward.
I actually have 3 questions. Randy Gallagher, and I'm from Summerland, but I have 2 businesses in Penticton that are drastically affected by this decision. My first question is, the revision to the revision to the revision to the revision that I just saw on the screen is the very first time I've seen that. When was that given to the public before tonight? That's my first question.
Tonight, I think after hearing, no, in fairness, like my opening comment, it was also the first time Trio was in front of a public gallery. They heard some of the concerns and some of the themes were on the exclusivity contract, the amenity around the boathouse. There was the length of the term, the lease, and so those first 2 are ones that they could.
Mayor, to cut to the chase, it's more of the beach exclusivity. That's what I was concerned about. If you have a picture of that again, I believe that beach exclusivity covers the boat launch. Is Trio now going to be allowed to charge for launching your boat there?
That's not the impression, Mr. Windsor.
No, that was not the intention. The intention is that the exclusivity area only pertains to people that want to put up beach or water-related items, and it's not to control the boat launch.
So we can be assured that there's not gonna be a $10 launching fee. I'm sure there's gonna be parking fees, but council can guarantee there's no launching fees for the public.
There is going to be a parking fee, and like I said, that's to remain a public boat launch.
Okay. Another one is, some of you may know that my family and I own the Wibbit Water Park down in Okanagan Lake. Our original lease agreement with the City of Penticton was to have first right of refusal on Skaha Lake. It was noticeably absent on the final signing of our lease, and we were told to take it or leave it. You guys played hardball with us, and we took it, and we've got a very successful business. We've got a lot of happy customers. But one thing that the public needs to know, and I'm not sure, and I'm at the form is a question to you. Are you aware that we went through a 2.5-year process to get all of the surveys done, First Nations consultation, all the government leases? We had to rezone Okanagan Beach from recreational use to commercial use on the beach. Okay, are you aware of that? If you keep on talking about a water structure, if you do your due diligence, Wibbit is it. And you guys have been using our name, which is a trademark patented name, and it's a company out of Europe, and they don't take kindly to that. So with your public consultations coming up, please be honest with the people. You must convert public use beach to commercial in order to put in a water park, a Wibbit. I'm absolutely disgusted after what we've done for this city that we are not given an opportunity to bid on this. After we've done the City of Penticton and tourism, and we have nothing but great reviews. We hire a lot of students, okay? So anyways, not to get going on that. I had another question, but now I can't remember. The thing is that, oh, the last one was the RFP that came out 4 years ago. We looked at that. We looked at what was required. We had our hands full with getting the Wibbit in. I have an operation at the Penticton Marina. The RFP that was presented 4 years ago is absolutely nothing to what you guys just approved tonight. And as far as marina operator, we have already announced we would have been happy to put the money into that marina if an RFP had come out. We would have bid on it, my family and I. So you had other people that would fill the void for the 1.5 million to build the docks in there. My last question, Trio Marine Group says they're going to spend $1.5 million on the marina down there. I can put a new dock system in there for probably less than half of that. Are you going to guarantee they spend $1.5 million on that project? Because I know they do it at wholesale prices. Because Tom Hedquist, that's what he does for a living. So can you as council have some sort of system in place that they have to spend the 1.5 million? Or is that just a number in the air and they're going to spend 300,000 and be done with it?
So that is one of the conditions precedent in terms of them coming with a detailed design, and that is for the marina and the building there, which could include a restaurant up to 2,500 square feet and or retail space up to 4,000 square feet. So that minimum investment of 1.5 million would encompass that building and the docks. And yes, the minimum requirement is 1.5 million, and part of their financial commitments as well is having a construction bond equal to whatever the third-party surveyor says the construction costs are to ensure that it gets built and there's a bond there.
Okay, thank you. And I commend council. I know it's not easy. You guys made a tough decision. As a former referee, I know it's not changing.
So again, a question, not commentary, please.
Acacia Place. The Chief Administrative Officer reports to the Mayor and Council the enhancement of Skaha Park Marina area is supportive of an adventurous waterfront city. Why has this matter never gone to a public referendum? This is a public park.
Sir,
and
we
this-
answered that question earlier.
This is a public park, and this is where it belongs, with the public.
Any last questions? We have one more. And we'll make this the last question.
Gary Seaver, 194 of Perkins Crescent. Stated earlier that you had answered this question before, but I still have not got, all I've heard is evasion and obfuscation about the lease that Marina did not, or that Trio did not meet the deadline for that contract. So I think it's a sufficiently important question to be asking, or I think there needs to be an independent legal opinion as to whether that lease is still in force. Because if it isn't in force or viable, then all of these revisions on and on and on ad nauseum amount to nothing. Now, if I could get a clear answer on that question, whether that contract is legal when they did not meet the requirements of the contract, would you answer that question?
So I'll try to address it. So the condition precedent of submitting October 1st, they didn't fulfill those. We had talked about the problem with that was the water park agreement, which is not condition precedent not until 2017, May of 2017, was still active, which was the key, if I can say, the key concern in the community is no water slide. And then probably the commercialization of green space. So it was our view that a negotiated settlement to get the water park agreement off the table, get that wrapped up, was a primary focus. You heard from our lawyer on Wednesday night that our position would be that the existing marina agreement, you could argue was dead. You heard from the Trio lawyer saying, in their opinion, both agreements are quite active. There is a clause in all the agreements, I think it's section 28, or it's ability to perform is what it's called. So and I'm paraphrasing, but if there are actions taking place that inhibit their opportunity to fulfill those things, and they list out a bunch of examples. So they would argue that 2 lawsuits and First Nations wanting to be inserted in the process hamper their ability to provide the detailed designs and the money. And so my point is, it brought up potentially another legal battle with the city and the developer, and we were looking at, does it make sense to spend money battling the city, battling people in the community? Does it make sense to battle the developer, or does it make sense to see if we can find some negotiated settlement? And that's sort of the avenue we pushed hard on over the last 2 months, and that's where we are today.
So would it make sense to get an independent legal view on whether that contract is viable, is null and void, or viable? I still.
Yeah, did you get legal?
I
we
think that would be.
We have used 2 different legal firms with this whole situation. So yes, we've had legal opinion, and of course, everyone has subjective opinions on legal opinions, and that's why you go to court, because your opinion may differ than the person that you're disputing with. And when you go to court, there's big zeros behind it. And so that was part of the rationale behind what we were thinking here.
Well, I guess we're going to be going to court again then, eh? Another lawsuit.
Yeah.
Okay. So we are going to adjourn. I need to go on camera, so I need a motion for council to adjourn and go on camera. Section 90.1 for E, G.
You're going to camera already.
Thank you for everyone coming out.
Absolutely ridiculous. Thank you.
Thank you.